The Georgia sun hung low over Decatur, painting Loretta Washington's front porch in shades of amber and gold. At 68 years old, she'd learned to read the light like gospel. The way it slanted through the ancient oak tree told her exactly what time it was without checking a clock. 3:30 on a Sunday afternoon, the Lord's Day. The day families were supposed to come together in love and grace. But Loretta's stomach had been churning with something that felt a whole lot less holy. She rocked slowly in her late husband's chair, the same one Marcus had sat in for 35 years before the cancer took him. The wood creaked with a familiar rhythm, a sound that usually brought her peace. Today it sounded like a warning. "Lord," she whispered, fingers wrapped around a teacup that had gone cold. "I taught music to babies for 40 years. I can hear when a note's off key. And something in this house has been singing the wrong tune for 3 weeks now." The house itself was a beauty, a 2-story Victorian painted the color of butter, with white trim that she and Marcus had maintained religiously. 3 generations of Washingtons had lived here. Her grandmother had bought it in 1952, when black folks in Georgia were still fighting for the right to sit at lunch counters. This house meant something. It was legacy. It was blood and sweat and prayers answered. And someone was trying to take it from her. The screen door creaked open, and there she was. "Mama Letta." Ashley's voice was honey-sweet, smooth as silk. "Look at you, sitting out here all by yourself. I brought you something special." Ashley Nicole Thornton Washington glided across the porch like she was walking on air, carrying a silver tray with a teapot and those fancy cookies from the farmer's market downtown. She was beautiful in that way that made people stop and stare. Blonde hair that caught the light, blue eyes that sparkled with what everybody thought was genuine warmth, and a smile that belonged on a toothpaste commercial. But Loretta had been watching, and Lord, had she seen some things. "That's sweet of you, baby," Loretta said, keeping her voice light and airy. She'd learned a thing or two about acting in her years. "You didn't have to go through all that trouble." "Oh, it's no trouble at all." Ashley set the tray down on the little wicker table between them. "I made your favorite, chamomile with honey from that farmer's market you love so much. And I added some special herbs. They're supposed to be good for women our age. You know, heart health and circulation." Our age. Ashley was 32. Loretta wanted to laugh at the manipulation, but instead she smiled warmly. "Well, bless your heart," Loretta said, using the phrase the way Southern black women had weaponized it for generations. Ashley poured the tea with practiced grace, her movements smooth and careful. Loretta watched her hands, manicured nails, expensive rings, including the 2-carat diamond James had somehow afforded on an engineer's salary. "Here you go, Mama." Ashley handed her the cup, but Loretta noticed something crucial. Ashley wasn't drinking any herself. She had a bottle of Fiji water tucked in her designer purse, the kind that cost $5 at Whole Foods. "Aren't you having any, honey?" "Oh, you know me. I'm trying to cut back on caffeine." Ashley's laugh was light, dismissive. "My trainer says it's bad for anxiety." Your trainer. Loretta had been a public school teacher. She knew what anxiety looked like, and it wasn't sipping green juice while spending someone else's money. Loretta lifted the cup to her lips, pretending to take a sip. The liquid was lukewarm now, and something about the smell made her stomach turn. It wasn't just chamomile. There was something else underneath. Something bitter that the honey couldn't quite cover. 20 minutes passed with small talk. Ashley chattered about her day, about the new yoga class she'd joined, about how she and James were thinking about taking a trip to the Bahamas next month. All the while, Loretta felt her heart start to race, not from excitement or joy, but from something else. Something wrong. The palpitations started slow, then built like a crescendo. Her vision blurred slightly at the edges. The yellow porch light seemed to glow with an unnatural halo, and she felt a wave of nausea roll through her gut. "Mama Letta, you okay? You look a little pale." Ashley's voice was concerned, but her eyes, God help her, Loretta saw it. Her eyes were calculating, watching, waiting. "I'm fine, baby. Just a little tired is all." Loretta set down the teacup, making sure Ashley saw that she'd drunk most of it. In reality, she'd poured half into the potted plant beside her chair when Ashley had looked down at her phone. The sound of a car in the driveway saved her. James, her baby boy, now 35 years old, 6'2", with his father's gentle eyes and his mother's stubborn chin. He bounded up the porch steps with that energy he'd had since he was little, the kind that made it impossible to stay mad at him even when he drove her crazy. "There are my two favorite ladies." James kissed Ashley full on the mouth, the kind of kiss that made Loretta look away, then bent down to kiss his mama's cheek. "How's my best girl?" "I'm blessed and highly favored, baby," Loretta said automatically, the response she'd given him since he was old enough to ask. But she gripped his hand a little tighter than usual, and she saw him frown. "Mama, your hand is clammy. You feeling all right?" "Just hot out here. You know how I get." She waved him off. "Ashley made me some tea. Such a sweet girl you married." She watched James light up at the compliment, watched him pull Ashley close and kiss her temple. "Isn't she, though? I'm the luckiest man alive." Ashley smiled up at him, and for a moment Loretta could see what her son saw, a beautiful woman who seemed devoted to their family, who went to church every Sunday, who volunteered at the soup kitchen and sang in the choir like an angel. But angels didn't watch you drink poison with anticipation in their eyes. "Baby, why don't you go shower and change?" Ashley said to James, running her hand down his arm. "Dinner won't be ready for another hour, and you know how you get when you're all sweaty from the gym." "Yes, ma'am." James kissed her again, then jogged into the house, already pulling off his t-shirt as he went. The moment he was gone, Ashley's smile didn't fade. That was the terrifying part. She kept it perfectly in place as she gathered up the tea service, humming softly to herself. But Loretta had spent 40 years watching children's faces, learning to see what they tried to hide. And in the brief second when Ashley thought she wasn't looking, Loretta saw the mask slip. Those blue eyes went cold as January ice. That smile turned sharp as a blade, and Ashley glanced at her watch, a Cartier that had mysteriously appeared on her wrist 2 months ago, like she was timing something. "Mama Letta, you just rest here. I'll get dinner started." Ashley paused at the door, one hand on the frame. "You know, James and I were talking. Have you thought any more about updating your will? I know Mr. Patterson has been your lawyer forever, but there are some new estate planning strategies that could really help James in the long run." There it was. Again. This was the 4th time in 2 weeks Ashley had brought up the will, the house, the life insurance policy that had Marcus's name still on it as the beneficiary. "I'll think about it, honey," Loretta said sweetly. "These old bones don't move as fast as they used to." Ashley's smile brightened. "Of course, Mama. Take all the time you need." But what Ashley didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Loretta Washington had been playing chess while other folks were still learning checkers, and she'd just made her opening move. As soon as Ashley disappeared into the house, Loretta pulled out the iPhone that James had taught her to use 3 years ago. Her fingers might have arthritis, but they worked just fine for typing out a text message. She scrolled to the number saved as Keisha B., her former student, her goddaughter in all but name, the one who'd been at that soul food restaurant last week and seen Ashley's face and gone white as a sheet. The message was simple: "Need to talk. Private. Tomorrow morning. Life or death." The response came back within seconds. "Grady Hospital Cafeteria. 11 a.m. I'll be there." Loretta tucked the phone back into her cardigan pocket and looked out at the oak tree that had shaded this porch since before she was born. That tree had survived storms, droughts, and the changing seasons. It had bent but never broken, and neither would she. "Lord," she whispered, "I don't know what I'm walking into, but I know you didn't bring me this far to leave me now. Whatever that girl is planning, whatever poison she's feeding my family, I need you to give me the strength to stop it, because I'll be damned if I let her hurt my boy." The sun dipped lower, painting everything in shades of orange and red. Inside, she could hear Ashley humming in the kitchen, hear James's shower running upstairs. It all looked so normal, so perfect, but Loretta's heart was still racing, and she knew it wasn't from love. 3 weeks earlier, Loretta had woken up feeling like she'd run a marathon in her sleep. It started small, the kind of thing you brush off when you're pushing 70. A little shortness of breath walking up the stairs. Some dizziness when she stood up too fast from her piano bench. Nothing that couldn't be explained by age, by the Georgia heat, by the fact that she hadn't been sleeping well since James got married. But then it got worse. "Mrs. Washington, I'm looking at your test results, and I've got to tell you, I'm confused as hell." Doctor. Patricia Owens had been Loretta's physician for 15 years, a no-nonsense black woman from Birmingham who didn't sugarcoat anything. She sat across from Loretta in the community clinic examination room, a folder full of lab results spread out in front of her like a bad hand of cards. Your blood pressure is elevated, 148/92, which isn't great but isn't emergency level either. Your heart rate is concerning though. You're averaging 140 beats per minute at rest. That's tachycardia, and it needs explanation. Loretta wrapped her cardigan tighter around her shoulders, even though the room was warm. What does that mean? It means your heart is working way too hard for no damn reason. Dr. Owens flipped through the papers, frowning. But here's what's got me scratching my head. Your EKG looks fine. Your cardiac enzymes are normal. Your cholesterol is actually better than it was 6 months ago. By all accounts, your heart should be healthy as a horse. So what's causing it? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Dr. Owens leaned back in her chair. Have you been under stress? Any changes in your life recently? Loretta thought about Ashley moving into James's house 3 miles away, about how she'd started coming by every single day, always with some excuse. Just wanted to bring you some soup, Mama Letta. Just wanted to check on you, Mama Letta. Just wanted to make sure you're not lonely, Mama Letta. My son got married 8 months ago, Loretta said carefully. Big adjustment, you know. Used to be just him and me after his daddy passed. Dr. Owens gave her a look that said she understood more than Loretta was saying. Any new medications? Supplements? Herbal teas? The question hung in the air like smoke. Herbal teas. Ashley had started bringing her that special chamomile blend about 3 weeks ago. Said it was from some fancy organic shop in Buckhead, supposed to help with sleep and circulation. Ashley always made such a big show of it, brewing it herself, measuring out the exact amounts, making sure Loretta drank every last drop. Just some tea my daughter-in-law brings, Loretta said slowly. But that wouldn't... Probably not, Dr. Owens interrupted, but something in her tone made Loretta's skin prickle. But if you notice your symptoms getting worse when you drink it, maybe lay off for a few days. See if things improve. Sometimes these natural remedies can interact with body chemistry in weird ways. Loretta left the clinic with a prescription for a beta blocker that she had no intention of taking. Not yet. Not until she understood what the hell was happening to her. That night she sat in her kitchen, the same kitchen where she'd taught James to cook collard greens, where Marcus had proposed to her 43 years ago, where 3 generations of Washington women had passed down recipes and secrets and survival strategies. The teacup sat on the counter, half full of Ashley's special blend. Loretta stared at it for a long time. Then she did something she'd never done before. She poured the tea into a mason jar, sealed it tight, and hid it in the back of the pantry behind the Christmas decorations. Just in case. The symptoms came and went like clockwork. Every day Ashley visited, usually around 3 in the afternoon, Loretta would drink the tea and feel like death within an hour. Heart racing, vision blurring, nausea rolling through her in waves. But on the days when James brought her over to his house, when Loretta ate their food and drank their water, she felt fine. Normal. Like herself. It took her 2 weeks to see the pattern. And once she saw it, she couldn't unsee it. Mabel, I need you to listen to me and not think I've lost my mind. Mabel Johnson had been Loretta's best friend since 1984, when they'd both been teaching at the same elementary school. Mabel was retired now, living off her pension and her late husband's Social Security, spending her days watching The Young and the Restless and going to water aerobics at the YMCA. They sat in Mabel's living room, gospel music playing softly from the old radio on the mantel, the smell of lemon pledge and black love soap heavy in the air. Chile, you know I always listen, Mabel said, pouring sweet tea into 2 glasses. What's got you looking like you've seen a ghost? I think, Loretta took a breath. I think Ashley is trying to kill me. The words hung in the air like a bomb that hadn't exploded yet. Mabel set down the tea pitcher very carefully. Come again? I think she's putting something in my tea. Something that's making me sick. Loretta's voice was steady, but her hands shook. Every time I drink it, I feel like I'm dying. My heart goes crazy. I can't breathe. And Mabel, she never drinks it herself. Not once. She always has some excuse. Letta. Mabel's voice was gentle, careful. Honey, you've been under a lot of stress. And you know, sometimes when we get to be our age, our minds can play tricks. I'm not senile, Mabel. I didn't say you were. But think about what you're saying. Your daughter-in-law? That sweet girl who sings in the choir? The one who volunteers at the soup kitchen every Thursday? The same one who's been asking about my will every other day? The same one who wants to know how much life insurance I got? The same one who asked James if he's the only beneficiary on the house deed? Loretta leaned forward. I've been watching her, Mabel. Really watching. And something ain't right. Mabel was quiet for a long moment, sipping her tea and thinking. Finally, she said, You tell James about this? And say what? Son, I think your wife is poisoning me? He'd think I was jealous. Think I can't stand to see him happy. Loretta's voice cracked. He loves her so much, Mabel. He looks at her like she hung the moon. If I accuse her without proof, I'll lose him. And if I'm right... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. What you gonna do? I don't know yet, but I saved some of the tea. And I got an appointment tomorrow with someone who might be able to help me figure this out. Mabel reached across and gripped Loretta's hand tight. You be careful, Letta. If that girl is what you think she is, well, cornered animals bite. So do mothers protecting their young, Loretta said softly. Mama Pearl's kitchen was the kind of place that didn't need a sign. Everybody knew where it was. Tucked between a barber shop and a beauty supply store on Candler Road, it had been serving the best soul food in Decatur since 1987. The kind of food that made you close your eyes and hum. The kind that reminded you of Sunday dinners at your grandmother's house, back when life was simpler and love was measured in extra helpings. Loretta sat in her usual booth by the window, the Friday lunch crowd buzzing around her. James and Ashley had picked her up for what Ashley called a girls' lunch, though James had insisted on coming too, saying he missed his mama's company. The smell of fried chicken and cornbread filled the air, mixing with the sound of Aretha Franklin on the jukebox and the chatter of familiar voices. This was her community, her people, the ones who'd known her when Marcus was alive, who'd brought casseroles after his funeral, who'd watched James grow from a gap-toothed little boy to a man. Mama, you want the catfish or the chicken? James was studying the menu like he didn't already have it memorized. He'd been eating here since he was 5 years old. You know I always get the chicken, baby, with greens and mac and cheese. Loretta smiled at her son, trying to memorize his face, the little crinkles around his eyes when he smiled, the way he still looked like Marcus when the light hit him just right. I'm thinking about the salmon, Ashley said, not looking up from her phone. Do they have anything gluten-free? Loretta bit her tongue. This girl had been eating fried chicken and waffles every Sunday after church for 8 months, but suddenly she was worried about gluten. Baby, this is soul food, James said gently. It's all about the gluten. That's what makes it good. Ashley laughed, light and airy. You're right. I'll just have the salmon and a side salad. Gotta watch my figure, you know. She reached over and squeezed James's hand, and Loretta watched her son practically melt. That's when she saw the girl. She was young, late 20s maybe, with her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, wearing scrubs that marked her as medical staff from somewhere. She was carrying a tray loaded with plates, navigating through the crowded restaurant with practiced ease. Just another face in the Friday lunch rush. But when she looked up and saw Ashley, she stopped dead. The tray wobbled. Plates rattled. For a second, Loretta thought she was going to drop everything. The girl stared at Ashley like she'd seen a demon in human skin. Her face went from brown to ashy gray in seconds flat, and her hands started shaking so bad she had to set the tray down on a nearby table before she lost it completely. Loretta's heart started pounding, but not from whatever was in the tea this time. From recognition, from vindication, from the cold, certain knowledge that she wasn't crazy after all, because this girl knew something, and whatever it was, it scared her to death. Ashley was oblivious, still scrolling through Instagram or Pinterest or whatever the hell people looked at on their phones these days. James was flagging down the waitress to order. Neither of them noticed the girl, who was now backing away slowly toward the kitchen, her eyes never leaving Ashley's face. But Loretta noticed everything. She watched the girl disappear into the kitchen, watched her peek back out through the service window, checking to make sure Ashley was still there. And then, God bless her, the girl did something brave. She came back out with a clean rag, pretending to wipe down tables. She worked her way closer, casual as you please, until she was right behind Ashley's chair. And then she locked eyes with Loretta. The girl's lips moved, forming words without sound. Don't drink anything. Loretta gave the tiniest nod, just enough to show she understood. The girl moved to their table, wiping it down even though it was already clean. When she accidentally knocked Loretta's napkin onto the floor, she bent down to pick it up and pressed something into Loretta's hand. A folded piece of paper, small enough to hide in her palm. My apologies, ma'am, the girl said out loud. then quieter. Tomorrow, please. No problem, honey, Loretta said, her voice steady even though her heart was galloping. She tucked the paper into her purse as smoothly as she could, praying James and Ashley wouldn't notice. They didn't. Ashley was taking a selfie. James was laughing at something on her phone. Loretta excused herself to the bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and opened the note with shaking hands. The handwriting was rushed, desperate. Mrs. Washington, it's me, Keisha Brown. I was in your music class 2003 to 2005. Please don't drink anything she gives you. I saw her do this before. In Birmingham, 2019. An old man died. Meet me tomorrow at Grady Hospital Cafeteria, 11 a.m. I'm a nurse there now. This is urgent. She's going to kill you. K.B. Loretta read it 3 times, memorizing every word before folding it up and hiding it in her bra, right next to her heart. Keisha Brown, sweet little girl with the gift for piano. Loretta had taught her Beethoven's Für Elise and bought her first sheet music when her mama couldn't afford it. She'd watched that girl graduate high school, helped her apply for nursing school scholarships. And now Keisha was trying to save her life. When Loretta returned to the table, she looked at Ashley with new eyes. At the way she smiled while posting photos. At the way she laughed at James's jokes and played the perfect wife. And Loretta understood, with crystal clarity, exactly what she was dealing with. This wasn't just a gold digger. This wasn't just a woman who married for money. This was a predator, a hunter. Someone who'd done this before and would do it again. Someone who'd already killed. Loretta picked up her sweet tea and took a long sip, letting the cold liquid calm her racing thoughts. Ashley looked over and smiled, that beauty pageant smile that didn't reach her eyes. You okay, Mama Letta? You look a little pale. Just tired, baby, Loretta said sweetly. You know how us old folks get. But inside she was already planning, already strategizing, already preparing for war. Because if Ashley thought she could take down Loretta Washington without a fight, she had severely underestimated exactly who she was fucking with. Saturday morning came with the kind of muggy heat that made Georgia summers legendary. By 10:30, Loretta was already sweating through her cotton blouse as she drove her 2015 Camry toward downtown Atlanta. She'd told James she had a hair appointment, a lie that came easier than she'd expected. 43 years of marriage had taught her that sometimes love meant protecting people from truths they weren't ready to hear. Grady Memorial Hospital rose up against the Atlanta skyline like a monument to suffering and survival. Loretta had been here before, when Marcus got his cancer diagnosis, when James broke his arm falling off his bike at age 9, when her own mother had her final stroke. The place held memories, both good and terrible. She found parking in the visitor's lot and made her way to the cafeteria on the 2nd floor. The smell hit her first. Industrial coffee, overcooked vegetables, and that particular antiseptic scent that permeated every hospital in America. The lunch crowd was just starting to trickle in. Nurses on break, worried families grabbing something quick, medical students studying over stale sandwiches. Keisha was already there, sitting at a corner table near the windows. She'd grown up pretty, Loretta thought. The gangly 13-year-old who used to stumble over piano keys had become a confident woman in navy blue scrubs, her hair pulled back in a professional bun, a stethoscope hanging around her neck like jewelry. But when she saw Loretta, her eyes filled with tears. Mrs. Washington. Keisha stood up so fast she nearly knocked over her coffee. Oh my God, Mrs. Washington, I was so scared you wouldn't come. I was scared she'd already... Her voice broke. Loretta pulled the girl, no, the woman, into a tight hug. Shh, baby, I'm here. I'm all right. Now sit down and tell me everything. They sat across from each other, 2 cups of terrible hospital coffee between them. Keisha's hands were shaking so badly she had to clasp them together on the table. I can't believe this is happening again, Keisha whispered. When I saw her at Mama Pearl's, I swear to God I almost had a heart attack. Same face, same smile, same everything. Start from the beginning, honey. Birmingham, 2019. You said an old man died. Keisha took a shaky breath. I was working at UAB Hospital, University of Alabama, Birmingham. I just finished my nursing degree and was doing my first year on the general med floor. There was this patient, Mr. Harold Henderson, 71 years old, widower, no kids. Sweet old man, you know. Used to be a chemistry professor. Still sharp as a tack. She paused to wipe her eyes. He came in for a minor procedure. Gallbladder thing. Should have been routine. But then this woman showed up, said she was his niece visiting from out of state. Called herself Amy Kendrick. She was there every single day, bringing him tea, fussing over him like she really cared. She even brought cookies for the nursing staff. Everyone loved her. But you didn't, Loretta said quietly. I don't know what it was. Nurse's intuition, maybe? Something about her smile didn't match her eyes, you know? Like she was playing a character. Keisha's voice dropped even lower. And I noticed things. Little things. Mr. Henderson would be fine all morning, but after she visited in the afternoon, he'd spike a fever. His heart rate would go crazy. He'd be confused, nauseous. Loretta's stomach clenched. That's what's been happening to me. I know. That's why I freaked out when I saw her with you. Keisha reached across the table and grabbed Loretta's hands. Mrs. Washington, he died 3 weeks after that niece showed up. They said it was heart failure, complications from his surgery. Nobody questioned it because he was old and sick. But you did. I saw her at a bar 2 days after his funeral. She was celebrating with some guy, throwing back shots, laughing. And I heard her say, I swear to God, Mrs. Washington, I heard her say easiest 80 grand I ever made. Keisha's voice was shaking with rage. She inherited everything, his house, his retirement, his life insurance, and then she disappeared. You report it? I tried. I went to the police, told them what I saw. But what did I have? A patient who died of heart failure, which his doctors confirmed was natural. A woman who inherited money from her uncle, which is perfectly legal. And me, a 23-year-old brand new nurse with suspicions. Keisha laughed bitterly. They basically patted me on the head and sent me home. Loretta was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, what was the uncle's name again? Harold Henderson. Why? And she called herself Amy Kendrick? Yeah, but Mrs. Washington... Keisha pulled out her phone and showed Loretta a photo. It was a screenshot from what looked like a Facebook page. The woman in the picture had darker hair, different makeup, but the face was unmistakable. This is from his funeral. I took it because I wanted to remember her face. I wanted to make sure that if I ever saw her again, I'd know. It was Ashley, no doubt about it. Her name's Ashley now, Loretta said, her voice eerily calm. Ashley Nicole Thornton. Married my son 8 months ago, and she's been bringing me tea for 3 weeks. Jesus Christ. Keisha closed her eyes. We have to stop her. We have to. Mrs. Washington, you need to stop drinking that tea right now. Today. Oh, I stopped 2 days ago, honey. Been pouring it in the plants when she's not looking. Loretta managed a grim smile. But I saved some. Got a whole mason jar of it hidden in my pantry. Think you can test it for me? Keisha sat up straighter, her professional training kicking in. I can run it through our lab. Say it's for a patient case study. What symptoms have you been having? Loretta listed them. The racing heart, the dizziness, the visual disturbances, the nausea. Keisha's face grew more concerned with each symptom. That sounds like cardiac glycoside poisoning, Keisha said. Probably digoxin or something similar. It's a heart medication, but in the wrong doses, especially for someone not prescribed it, it can be lethal. And the symptoms build up over time, so it looks like natural heart failure. How long would it take to kill someone? Depends on the dose and how often you're taking it. But if she's giving it to you daily in tea? Keisha's voice was grim. 2 to 4 weeks, maybe. And you said she's been doing this for 3 weeks? Loretta felt cold despite the humid Georgia heat seeping through the hospital windows. She'd been living on borrowed time, and she hadn't even known it. Can you bring me the tea? Keisha asked. I'll run it through the lab tonight. Tell them it's a suspected poisoning case I'm helping investigate. It's not technically a lie. I'll bring it tomorrow, after church. Loretta squeezed the younger woman's hands. Keisha, baby, I need you to understand something. This is dangerous. If she finds out you know, I don't care. Keisha's voice was steel. She got away with murder once because I didn't have proof. I'm not letting her do it again. You saved my life, Mrs. Washington. You were the only person who believed I could be more than what people expected from a black girl in the hood. You paid for my piano books. You wrote my recommendation letter for nursing school. You came to my graduation when my own mama was too drunk to show up. Tears were running down Keisha's face now, but her voice never wavered. I owe you everything. And I'll be damned if I let some psycho bitch kill you without a fight. Loretta felt something crack open in her chest. The fear she'd been carrying alone for weeks. The terror that she was crazy or paranoid or just a bitter old woman who couldn't accept her son's happiness. But Keisha believed her. Keisha had seen it before. She wasn't alone anymore. "All right then," Loretta said, standing up and pulling Keisha into another hug. "We're going to do this smart. We're going to get proof, and we're going to save my boy before she decides he's worth more dead than alive." Sunday service at Greater Hope Baptist Church was usually Loretta's sanctuary. 3 hours of gospel music, powerful preaching from Pastor Tyrone Jenkins, and the warm embrace of a community that had known her for 40 years. But today, she could barely focus on the sermon. Ashley sat next to James in the third row, looking like an angel in a white sundress and a wide-brimmed hat. She sang every hymn with perfect pitch, swayed to the music with genuine-seeming joy, and even shed a tear during Pastor Jenkins's sermon about forgiveness and family. The performance was flawless. During the collection, Ashley made a big show of putting a $100 bill in the basket. James's $100 bill, Loretta noted from James's wallet. The older church ladies cooed and whispered about what a blessing Sister Ashley was. Even Sister Mabel, who knew the truth, had to admit the girl could act. After service, Loretta waited until James and Ashley were distracted by Pastor Jenkins, who was complimenting Ashley's volunteer work at the soup kitchen, before slipping out to her car. The mason jar of tea was wrapped in a paper bag in her trunk, tucked inside a cooler with ice packs to preserve whatever was in it. She drove to Keisha's apartment in East Atlanta, a modest one-bedroom in a complex that had seen better days but was safe enough. Keisha was waiting outside, still in her church clothes. She attended a younger, more contemporary service across town. "You got it?" Keisha asked, looking around nervously. Loretta handed over the bag. "Be careful with it. And Keisha, thank you for believing me, for risking your job for this. Mrs. Washington, this isn't just about you anymore." Keisha's face was grim. "If she's done this twice, she'll do it again. We stop her now, or someone else's mama ends up dead." The call came on Tuesday afternoon. Loretta was in her garden, pulling weeds from her tomato plants and trying not to think about the fact that Ashley was inside her house right now, supposedly cleaning the kitchen as a nice surprise. She'd refused the tea today, claimed she had an upset stomach, and Ashley's smile had tightened just a fraction. The girl was getting impatient. When her phone buzzed, Loretta pulled off her gardening gloves and saw Keisha's name on the screen. She walked to the far corner of the yard, out of earshot of the house, before answering. "Tell me," Loretta said without preamble. Keisha's voice was shaking. "Mrs. Washington, you need to sit down." "I'm in my garden, just tell me." "I ran the tea through our tox screen. It came back positive for digoxin. A lot of digoxin." Keisha took a breath. The concentration was 0.4 milligrams per milliliter. The therapeutic dose for someone who actually needs this medication is 0.5 to 2 nanograms per milliliter. She's giving you a dose that's literally 800 times higher than what's considered safe. Loretta felt the world tilt. She grabbed the fence to steady herself. "What does that mean, in plain English?" "It means if you'd kept drinking that tea at the rate you were, once a day for another week, you'd have been dead. Your heart would have just stopped, and it would have looked completely natural, just an old lady whose heart gave out." Keisha's voice broke. "Mrs. Washington, this is attempted murder. Premeditated, calculated murder. We have to go to the police, right now." "Not yet." "What do you mean, not yet? She tried to kill you. And if we go to the police with a jar of tea, what happens?" Loretta kept her voice low and steady, even though she was shaking. "Best case, they arrest her. She lawyers up. She says she has no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe I put the digoxin in there myself to frame her. Maybe I'm a bitter mother-in-law who can't stand to lose her son. Without proof that she's the one who poisoned it, without witnesses, without a history of this crime, it's my word against hers. But Birmingham is a cold case with no physical evidence and a dead man who was cremated. Keisha, baby, I know you want justice. So do I. But I need more than this. I need to prove who she really is. I need to find out if there are other victims. And I need—" She paused, the words bitter in her mouth. "I need to protect my son, because if she goes to jail and then gets out on some technicality, or if this goes to trial and she walks, James will never forgive me. He'll think I destroyed his marriage out of spite, and then I lose him forever." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Finally, Keisha said, "What do you want to do?" "I'm going to hire a private investigator, someone who can dig into her past, find out who she really is, connect her to other crimes, and I'm going to set a trap." Loretta looked back at her house. at the yellow paint and white trim that represented 3 generations of Washington family history. I'm going to make her think she's won, and then I'm going to take everything from her, the same way she tried to take everything from me. That's dangerous, Mrs. Washington. If she realizes you know, then I'll be ready. Loretta's voice was hard as stone. I didn't survive 68 years of being a black woman in Georgia by being careless. I know how to fight smart, and I know how to survive. Raymond Foster's office was tucked above a bail bonds place on Memorial Drive, the kind of location that said, "I've seen some shit," without needing a sign. Loretta climbed the narrow stairs on Wednesday morning, carrying a folder full of everything she had. The lab results, the photo of Amy Kendrick from Harold Henderson's funeral, and a cashier's check for $2,000. Raymond answered the door himself, a man in his mid-60s with gray in his beard and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He'd been Marcus's best friend in high school, had stood up at their wedding, had been there the night Marcus died. "Letta," he said, pulling her into a brief hug. "When you called and said you needed help, I knew it was serious. You never ask for help." "I need you to find out who someone really is," Loretta said, settling into the worn leather chair across from his desk. "And Ray, I need you to do it fast." She laid it all out. Ashley's arrival in James's life, the whirlwind romance, the too perfect persona, the tea, the symptoms, Keisha's story about Birmingham, the lab results that proved someone was trying to kill her. Raymond listened without interrupting, his face growing darker with each revelation. When she finished, he sat back in his chair and steepled his fingers. "You know what you're asking me to find, don't you?" "A serial killer," Loretta said flatly. "One who targets elderly people with money, gets close to them, gains their trust, and poisons them slowly so it looks like natural causes." "Jesus Christ, Letta." Raymond scrubbed his hand over his face. "And she's married to James?" "For 8 months now. And Ray? I think he might be next, after me." Her voice cracked for the first time. "If she can make me look like I died of natural causes, she inherits through James. But if something happens to him too, oh, he was so heartbroken over his mother's death that he just wasted away. She gets everything. The house, my savings, his salary, the life insurance policies." Raymond was already pulling up databases on his computer. "Give me her full name, date of birth if you have it, social security number." Loretta handed over copies of the marriage license and other documents she'd accidentally found while helping James organize his files. Raymond's fingers flew across the keyboard. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. His frown deepened with each passing minute. "Letta, this is bad." "How bad?" "Ashley Nicole Thornton doesn't exist. Or rather, she only started existing in January 2023. No tax records before that. No employment history. No credit history. The social security number on this marriage license," he tapped the screen, "belongs to a woman who died in Vermont in 2015. Classic identity theft." Loretta felt cold. "So who is she really?" "Give me a few more minutes." Raymond pulled up another program, uploaded the photo from Keisha's phone. "I'm running facial recognition through some databases I have access to. If she's used other names, if she's been arrested, if she's popped up in any police reports." The computer beeped. "Got her." Raymond's voice was grim. He turned the monitor so Loretta could see. The face was the same, but the name was different. Amber Louise Kendrick. Born December 1991 in Mobile, Alabama. And the list of charges made Loretta's blood run cold. 2018. Fraud investigation. Elderly victim closed due to lack of evidence. 2019. Wanted for questioning. Death of Harold Henderson, Birmingham, AL*. 2021. Identity theft charges. Tallahassee, Florida. Warrant issued, never served *. 2022. Suspected in death of Robert Mitchell. Charges dropped. Insufficient evidence. She's done this at least 4 times that we know of, Raymond said quietly. And those are just the cases that got reported. How many others didn't get questioned? How many families just accepted that Grandpa or Grandma died of natural causes and never looked deeper? Loretta stared at the screen, at the list of victims, at the pattern that should have been obvious to someone, but never was. Because who suspects the pretty young woman playing the devoted caregiver? Who questions the tearful relative at the funeral? "Can we prove any of this?" she asked. "The Florida case. There's a survivor. Robert Mitchell lived. His daughter, Sarah Mitchell, was the one who reported it. She might be willing to testify. Raymond was already writing notes. And I can contact the Birmingham PD, see if they'll reopen the Henderson case with this new information. But Letta, what? This is going to take time, weeks, maybe months to build an airtight case. And in the meantime, you're living with a target on your back. Loretta stood up, straightening her spine the way her grandmother had taught her, the way Washington women had stood tall through Jim Crow and the Civil Rights Movement and every other storm that had tried to break them. Then we set the trap, she said. I'm going to give her exactly what she wants. I'm going to tell James and Ashley that I'm changing my will, that I want to add Ashley as a beneficiary, and I'm going to invite them to a special Sunday dinner to celebrate. That's insane. If she thinks you're about to put her in your will, she'll speed up her timeline. She'll try to kill you before you can change your mind. I know. Loretta's smile was sharp as broken glass. That's what I'm counting on. Friday night, Loretta's phone rang at 9:47 p.m. James's name flashed on the screen, and something about the late hour made her heart drop before she even answered. Mama? His voice was weak, slurred. Mama, something's wrong. Loretta was on her feet instantly, already grabbing her car keys. Baby, what's happening? Where are you? Home. I can't. My heart's going crazy, Mama. I'm dizzy. Ashley thinks it's food poisoning, but he broke off and she heard him retching. I'm coming right now. Don't you move. She was already out the door, running to her car in her house slippers and nightgown. James, stay on the phone with me. But Ashley's voice came through instead, honey-sweet and concerned. Mama Letta? I think James has the flu or something. He's been sick all evening. I made him a protein shake this morning and some tea at lunch, trying to keep his strength up, but the words hit Loretta like a freight train. Protein shake, tea, the same M.O. Ashley wasn't just killing her. She was poisoning James too. Probably smaller doses, slower acting, so when Loretta died of natural causes, James would be too weak and sick to question it. And then, grief-stricken and ill, he'd follow his mother to the grave within months. I'm 5 minutes away, Loretta said, her voice deadly calm. You keep him conscious. You hear me? She broke every speed limit getting to James's house in Druid Hills. When she burst through the front door, she found her son on the bathroom floor, pale as death, a basin beside him. Baby, I'm here. She knelt beside him, feeling his pulse, rapid and thready, just like hers had been. His pupils were dilated, and when he looked at her, she saw the same yellow halos around the lights that she'd experienced. Digoxin poisoning, no doubt about it. Ashley hovered in the doorway, playing the worried wife. Should I call 911? I'm so scared, Mama Letta. No. Loretta's voice was sharp. He's coming home with me, right now. What? But I can take care of... My son is coming home with his mother. Loretta stood up, all 5'3" of her, and stared down this woman who'd been trying to murder her family. You got a problem with that? The mask slipped. Just for a second, Ashley's face went cold and hard, her eyes flashing with rage. But then she smoothed it over, manufactured tears springing to her eyes. Of course not. I just want what's best for James. Then help me get him to the car. 20 minutes later, James was tucked into his childhood bed, the same room where he'd slept from age 5 to 18. Loretta had given him activated charcoal, thanks to a frantic call to Keisha, and plain water. Nothing else. Nothing that could have been tampered with. She sat beside him all night, watching him sleep fitfully, and made a decision. The trap was happening. This Sunday. And Ashley was going to walk right into it. Saturday morning, Loretta was in her kitchen making coffee when someone knocked on her door. She wasn't expecting anyone. James was still sleeping upstairs, and she'd told Ashley not to come by today. She opened the door to find a white woman in her late 50s, with worry lines around her eyes, and gray streaking through her brown hair. Mrs. Washington? The woman asked. My name is Sarah Mitchell, from Tallahassee, Florida. I need to talk to you about the woman who married your son. Loretta pulled her inside so fast the woman nearly stumbled. They sat at the kitchen table, and Sarah told her story in a voice that shook with barely contained fury. Her father, Robert Mitchell, 75 years old, widower, retired accountant, worth about $300,000 between his house and retirement savings. She called herself Brittany Cole, Sarah said. Came into his life as a home health aide in 2021. I live in Miami, so I wasn't around much. But when I visited for Thanksgiving, something felt off. Dad had always been sharp, but suddenly he was confused, weak. She said it was just his age. But you didn't believe her. Hell no. My daddy taught calculus until he was 70. His mind was fine. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. I installed a nanny cam in his living room, and I caught her, on video, pouring something into his tea when she thought no one was watching. What did you do? I called the cops immediately. They came, arrested her, but she made bail and ran before the trial. The case fell apart without her there to prosecute. Sarah pulled out her phone, showed Loretta a video. But I kept the evidence, and I've been tracking her ever since. New name, new city, same M.O. When I saw your son's wedding photo on Facebook last month, he's friends with my cousin who lives in Atlanta. I knew I had to warn you. Loretta watched the video. There was Ashley, Brittany, young and beautiful and smiling, methodically measuring something from a small vial into an elderly man's teacup. The casual nature of it, the practiced ease, made Loretta's skin crawl. How many others do you think there are? Loretta asked quietly. I found at least 3 more possible cases through online research. Elderly men, dying suddenly of heart failure, beautiful young women inheriting everything. Sarah's voice broke. She's a goddamn serial killer, Mrs. Washington, and she's gotten away with it because who suspects the pretty young caregiver? Not anymore, Loretta said grimly. She told Sarah about the plan, the Sunday dinner, the trap, the evidence they were gathering. I'll testify, Sarah said immediately. I'll do whatever it takes. My daddy survived, but those other families, they deserve justice. Sunday, September 22nd, the day of reckoning. Loretta's dining room table was set like it was Thanksgiving. Her grandmother's china, the good silver, fresh flowers in the center. She'd spent all morning cooking. Fried chicken, collard greens with ham hocks, mac and cheese that was more cheese than mac, candied yams, cornbread that melted in your mouth, and a peach cobbler that could make angels weep. But hidden among the homey touches were other preparations. 3 cameras disguised as picture frames, focused on the table. A high-quality audio recorder inside the flower arrangement. Detective Foster and 2 uniformed officers parked in an unmarked car 2 houses down. Sarah Mitchell waiting at Mabel's house next door. Keisha on standby with the lab results. And Loretta herself wearing a wire under her Sunday best dress. James came downstairs at 2 p.m., looking better after 2 days of Loretta's cooking and no tea or protein shakes. He still didn't know what was happening. Loretta had told him the truth about being sick, about suspecting the tea, but not about Ashley. Not yet. She needed him to see it himself, or he'd never believe it. Ashley arrived at 2:30, dressed in a pale pink dress that made her look innocent and sweet. She carried a basket with a bottle of wine and, of course, a container of special herbal tea. Mama Letta. She air-kissed Loretta's cheeks. Everything smells amazing, and I brought some of that tea you love so much. I know you said your stomach was upset, but this will help. How thoughtful, baby. Loretta took the container with a smile. Why don't you and James sit down? I'll just finish up in the kitchen. In the kitchen, Loretta poured the tea into a pot and set it on the stove, but didn't turn on the heat. Then she prepared 3 cups, one with plain water for James, one with the poison tea for Ashley, and one with regular store-bought chamomile for herself. When she returned to the dining room, she found Ashley already chattering about estate planning. So, Mama Letta, you said you wanted to discuss your will today. James and I have been thinking, with the house being so valuable now, and property taxes going up, it might make sense to put it in a trust. I actually know a great lawyer who specializes in estate planning for seniors. James shot his mother an uncomfortable look. Ash, maybe we should eat first. No, it's fine, baby. Loretta set down the tea service. In fact, I've made a decision. I want to add Ashley to my will. After all, you're family now. Ashley's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. Mama, that's so generous. I don't know what to say. Say you'll have some tea with me, to celebrate. Loretta poured carefully, making sure each cup went to the right person. To family, Loretta said, raising her cup. To family, James echoed, raising his water. Ashley picked up her cup, the one filled with her own poisoned tea, and something made her pause. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the way Loretta was watching her. But she didn't drink immediately. Instead, she sniffed it, frowned, sniffed again. Mama Letta, did you use a different tea? This smells different. Different how, honey? I don't know. Just different. Ashley set down the cup, her smile strained. You know what? I'm actually not feeling great. Maybe we should postpone this. Postpone what? James asked, confused. Ash, what's wrong? Nothing, Ashley stood up abruptly, knocking her chair back. I think I'm coming down with something. We should go. Sit down, Loretta said quietly. Excuse me? I said sit down. Loretta's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. Because we're not done here. James, there's something you need to know about your wife. Mama, what are you talking about? Ashley was backing toward the door now, her beautiful face finally showing panic. James, we need to leave. Your mother isn't well. She's confused. I'm not confused, baby. I'm the clearest I've been in months. Loretta pressed a button on her phone, and Raymond Foster walked in from the kitchen where he'd been waiting. Tell him, Mr. Foster. Tell my son who he married. Raymond laid it out in a calm, professional voice. The fake identity. The real name. Amber Louise Kendrick. The trail of dead elderly victims across 3 states. The wanted warrants. The video from Florida. The lab results showing lethal doses of digoxin in the tea. James's face went from confused to horrified to devastated. This can't be real. Ashley, tell them this is crazy. Tell him about Harold Henderson, Loretta said, her voice cutting like a knife. The 71-year-old man in Birmingham who died 3 weeks after you started bringing him tea. Tell him about Robert Mitchell in Florida. Tell him how you've been poisoning both of us. Ashley's mask finally shattered completely. You stupid old bitch, she hissed, and there it was, the real person underneath the performance. You couldn't just die quietly, could you? Had to go playing detective. Ashley. James's voice was broken. Oh, grow up, James. Ashley's pretty face twisted into something ugly. You think I loved you? You're just a paycheck with a house attached. A trust fund baby with mommy issues and a hefty life insurance policy. The front door opened and Detective Foster walked in with 2 uniformed officers. Amber Louise Kendrick, you're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and identity theft. Ashley, Amber, went quietly at first, that calculated brain already working on her defense. But then Loretta played her trump card. Check her purse, she told the detectives. Left side pocket. Inside they found pregnancy tests. 3 of them. All positive. Yes, I'm pregnant, Amber said coldly. And yes, it's his. So good luck prosecuting me because Georgia law protects pregnant women from harsh sentencing. I'll be out in 5 years, max. James looked like he might throw up, but Detective Foster smiled grimly. Actually, we've got one more thing. He pulled out his phone and played a recording. Amber's voice, clear as day. The old lady's almost gone. Then we take care of the son. 2 weeks, max, and we split the insurance money 60-40 like we agreed. Who were you talking to? Loretta demanded. Amber's lawyer, who'd arrived minutes earlier, went pale. Because the voice on the other end of that recording belonged to his own son, Devin Patterson, Jr., 35, associate at his father's law firm, had access to all of Loretta's estate documents. He'd met Amber on a dark web forum for people with gambling debts. The plan was simple. Amber would marry James, kill Loretta, then kill James in a grief-related accident. As James's widow, she'd inherit everything. Devin would forge the necessary legal documents and pocket 40% for his trouble. The elder Mr. Patterson sat down heavily, his face gray with shock and shame. Within an hour, Devin was arrested too. The conspiracy unraveled completely. Text messages, financial records, everything. Amber's pregnancy didn't save her. She was denied bail as a flight risk and remanded to custody to await trial. 3 months later, December 2024, the courtroom was packed for sentencing day. Amber had taken a plea deal, 30 years without parole, rather than risk the death penalty. Devin got 15 years as an accomplice. Sarah Mitchell testified about her father. Keisha presented the medical evidence. Loretta took the stand and described every symptom, every manipulation, every lie. And James, heartbroken but healing, told the court about the man he'd thought he was building a life with, and the monster she'd actually been. The baby was born in prison in March. A girl. Amber terminated her parental rights immediately. I don't want her, she'd said flatly. She deserves better than me. It was the only true thing she'd ever said. James petitioned for custody. After weeks of therapy and long talks with his mother, he'd decided, this baby didn't choose any of this. and I won't punish an innocent child for her mother's sins. They named her Grace Loretta Washington. 6 months later, June 2025. Loretta sat in her rocking chair on the porch, the late afternoon sun painting everything gold. Baby Grace, 3 months old now, slept in her arms, tiny fists curled against her chest. James sat beside them, looking more at peace than he had in a year. "Mama," he said quietly, "how did you know? Really know?" "A mother always knows, baby. It's not magic or psychic powers. It's love." Loretta looked down at Grace's sleeping face. Love makes you pay attention to the details other folks miss, makes you trust your gut when everyone else says you're crazy. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. You were in love. Love makes us blind sometimes, but family makes us see clear." She reached over and squeezed his hand. "And we're still family, you and me, and this little girl. That's what matters." From inside the house came the smell of dinner cooking. Keisha was in the kitchen, having become Grace's godmother and a permanent fixture in their lives. Mabel's voice drifted through the screen door, laughing at something on TV. The Washington house was full of life again, full of real family. Not the kind bound by marriage licenses or DNA, but the kind that showed up when you needed them. The kind that fought for you when the devil came knocking. "They say blood is thicker than water," Loretta murmured, rocking slowly. "But what they forget is the whole saying. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb." "What does that mean?" James asked. "It means family isn't just who you're born to, baby. It's who shows up, who fights, who stays." She kissed Grace's forehead. "And who loves you enough to save you from yourself when you need it." As the sun set over Decatur, Georgia, painting the old oak tree in shades of fire and gold, Loretta Washington held her granddaughter close and felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. The tea was gone. The poison was locked away. The predator was caged. And the Washington family, bloodied but unbroken, would survive, just like they always had.